I'm back again, this time for the final BookTubeAthon video challenge. It's definitely been a crazy ride, crazy schedule, lots of reading and videoing, and I know I've been delayed on some of it. But I did still have a blast. So I'm going to jump right into the final challenge, which is to discuss your favorite book. This one was really hard for me to pick because I don't really have a favorite book. There are so many books that mean a lot to me. Last year we had one of the final challenges, I think it was the final challenge, being to discuss the book that got you into reading. That also happens to be one of my favorite books, and I didn't want to talk about that one. So the book that I'm going to talk about today is Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. If you've seen some of my other videos from last year when we freaking out about romance, or read any of my blog, this probably doesn't come as much of a surprise. Actually, it probably explains a lot. And I know it's technically not a book, it's a play, but considering I read it like a book, I'm gonna count it. So basically, I read this one when I was in grade 8, and it came in one of those Scholastic books that we had to order in, and it was the intermediate one. I was so excited once I hit grade 6 because I could finally order from like the big kid books. And then in 8th grade I decided to pick this one up because I knew that going into high school I would be reading some Shakespeare and I wanted to give him a try. I absolutely loved it. I know Romeo and Juliet has a lot of mixed reviews, but this is the first book that really showed me that I wasn't just reading for fun, that I felt like I was an actual reader. And part of that was because it's a classic, it's Shakespeare, it's complicated, whatever. But most of it was because I was actually proving to myself that I had gone above and beyond. Like, I wasn't just reading the same books that all my classmates and stuff were reading, which was sort of the case. I did read a lot, but I read the thing that everybody else told me I should read. And then this was sort of me taking it upon myself to like, no, I'm going to go out of the box. Nobody reads Shakespeare before they have to, right? So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see, and if it's gonna be as difficult as everybody else says, then alright, well then I know, and if it's not, then I can be like, yes, look at me go, I'm like an amazing reader, and I can read Shakespeare at a younger age. Frankly, I don't think it's as difficult as I was expecting it to be, and I know a lot of other people who have read Shakespeare in 8th grade or even earlier than that. It was a sort of a step for me coming into that whole like, yes, I'm a reader, I feel like a reader kind of thing. It was also the first time that I was exposed to like real romance, and I know a lot of you guys are gonna fight me on this. Like, what do you mean they die in the end? Oh, it's so stupid, it's instant love. For me, it's more about the meaning of it, that not necessarily that they killed each other, they killed themselves for each other, but that there's a love so strong that you don't want to live without each other. I'm an absolute hopeless romantic. Romance aspects of books tend to be my favorite. I watch romance movies and stuff like that. Valentine's Day is one of my favorite days of the year. So, like I said, hopeless romantic. And I know this one comes with sort of mixed ideas on the romance aspect of it, but it was really giving me a feeling of that real, what felt like grown-up love. And I really appreciated that, especially when I was like 12 years old, being exposed to something that felt so much older than I was, that it was being privy to some kind of world that was like elite, or that I haven't yet reached, but I was just coming into. So this book is really important to me. I have sections of it memorized, namely the balcony scene, and every once in a while something will come up or somebody will say a word that's in it, and all of a sudden it'll be like, but soft, but light through yonder window breaks. I know more than that, FYI. I'm just like giving you a little tidbit. I don't think you guys want me to go off on a tangent about how that which we call a rose by any other name would be as sweet, so Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection to which he owes without that title. We don't need to keep going into that. So anyway, yeah, this book means a lot to me. It was also one of the first books that I was reading, or first like real books. Before this, I would have read Twilight, I would have read the Gallagher Girl series, which is what I talked about last year, The Lightning Thief, stuff like that. I didn't really read much when I was much younger. A little bit of Geronimo Stilton and the Rainbow Fairies, but a lot of it was too easy for me. So when I finally came into those bigger books, that I felt like, wow, look at me, I'm reading. And then I read this one, and it was like, I feel like a reader. And then after that, I was kind of, you know, incurable. Just FYI, this might be the first time you guys are really hearing me go on about Romeo and Juliet, but I can guarantee that this will not be the last time, because it has such a special place in my heart with this book. This is one of my absolute all-time favorite stories. Like, everything I have just always comes back to Romeo and Juliet. And that is the end of the BookTubeAthon video challenges. So I guess we're wrapping up BookTubeAthon week. This is crazy. I didn't actually enter for any of the challenges by posting on the videos because they had to be done in 24 hours. And unfortunately with my schedule, I was not able to do them in the 24 hours that was required to be entered. So I know I'm not going to win any books. However, I did have a blast doing this. Reading-wise, I also unfortunately didn't get through all of the books. A number of things came up during the week that made it difficult, and then reading-wise during work, when it got really, really packed in there, all of a sudden I couldn't read very much. But I did get done Royals, as I mentioned in a previous video. Everything. I will watch the movie this week and report back to you guys on it. Did read The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, Amanda Lovelace, the poetry one, all of which I already talked to you guys about. And then yesterday I finished Famous Last Words by Katie Allender. This is the ghost book that I was freaking out about. I actually quite liked it. It was creepy, and I made sure that I didn't read it at home. Like, I almost read this, not yesterday, but like the night before at about midnight, because I thought I needed to finish it. And A, I was exhausted, that wasn't gonna go over well, and B, I'm like, I can't read this book right now. So instead I read it at work, which I don't know how much was better, considering that the building is from 1896 and it was probably just as creepy and haunted as anything in this. Literally, it was a railway servicing area. It's a roundhouse, so I'm pretty sure that there were some people who died while working on the trains. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. The author's writing is very good. Willow felt so real, and you could really grow attached to her character and her story arc, basically going from this insecure this kind of broken, uncomfortable girl who's being thrust into the situation that she doesn't want to be in. She fights against every minute of it, which with this whole ghost thing and then her own discoveries and realizations, she grows into a much stronger, more confident character. And by the end of it, it's like she's back to her old self, whom you never really meet but you always know about, like an upgraded version. Like, she's taken that and then she's also grown from that. It was actually really, the plot-wise, I did pick out the murderer pretty early on. There's not a very large pool of characters, and usually you're gonna have a character who turns out to be the murderer. They don't just pull in some random person in like the last 2 pages and be like, hey look, this person you never met happened to be the murderer, and you're like, what? So because there's such a small pool of characters, I didn't have too much trouble picking it out. So some of like the twists and turns weren't as twisty and turny necessarily, but I wouldn't necessarily go as far to call it predictable, mostly because it does take a very different turn of things, and you really have to be paying attention to some of the little clues if you're gonna figure it out, which luckily I happened to be, or I guess I just got lucky with like my guess about halfway through. But anyway, the whole ghost situation, it's not necessarily all that unique. I have read other books that have similar kinds of ideas where like the ghost of a dead person is trying to help you to solve their murderer. I think that's pretty standard, but it was well done in a creepy way. Weirdly drowning, suffocating visions and stuff like that, creepishly trails of blood and rose petals. Like, it was pretty well done, and I was thoroughly freaked out, especially when the murderer came in and it's like, oh my god, now we have dead people and killers and I don't know what to do with myself. Frankly, I will probably try to read another one of these ghost books because I enjoyed it and I liked the thrill and the like punch in my chest every time something happened. I don't necessarily know if this is a good idea, but we're gonna go with it, and I'm sure you guys will hear about it if something goes absolutely terribly wrong. The books that I didn't finish and the challenges that went with them are By Your Side by Casey West, which was the book that I was supposed to wear the hat for, which I was really hoping to get through because I really wanted to read that book, and it's a neat challenge. I will probably never ever do a challenge like that, so that was the other thing. It's like, I'll read green books another time. I'll read books with pretty spines. I will never read a book the entire time while wearing a hat. So I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't get through that one. Then the other book that I didn't finish was Vasa in the Night by Sarah Porter, which is the one for flipping a coin, mostly because it was fantasy, and I found that after I'd read everything, I wasn't in a fantasy mood, so I never really wanted to pick it up. And then By Your Side I couldn't just easily pick up because I couldn't wear my hat and stuff at work. The third one was Wicked Little Secrets by Cara Taylor, which was a bit of a murder mystery kind of thing, and I went to pick that one up last night. That was the one that I started last night. I'm very in the beginning, so it's mostly just refreshing the things that happened in the last book, so I'm not really far enough in that I can report to you guys on any of its, quality. I think it's gonna be good. The first one was pretty good, so I have a good feeling. I will definitely be working on those throughout this week, though. Even though I didn't necessarily get to read them for the challenges or count for BookTubeAthon, I do still really want to read them. I'm not too far off of BookTubeAthon, and I'm like, I just kind of forget about it on my shelf again because unfortunately I have a habit of doing that. So instead, I'm gonna hope over the next little week that I'll get those 3 done, maybe another one. All in all, I got 4 out of 7 done, so it was over halfway. I'm okay with that. It might not be fantastic, but I'm okay with that. And someday I will get these 7 out of 7 books. One day. I can do this when I don't have work and when I don't have school, but I guess when other things happen, it just doesn't happen for me. But someday I will. I promise. I promised myself. And that is it for my final BookTubeAthon 2018 video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching these throughout the week, even though I know the behind bits and the random like 4 uploads on one day. I was really trying to get them all in before the week ended, even if they weren't necessarily before the challenges ended. Like I said, really busy week. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun, not only watching, but then doing your own videos. I'm definitely gonna go still and watch other people's because I didn't necessarily have all that much time as I was going through. I did watch a couple, and the bookshelves and the cover art and stuff. It all looks so neat, so I'm definitely gonna go back and watch some of those ones. I guess for now, until my next video, I will bid you all farewell and happy reading. Bye-bye!